You know that old saying, graphics don't make the game? Yeah, it's true, they don't make the game, but they do help make it good. Let's face it, in a visual medium, you want to look at what you're seeing. If something is constantly unappealing and off-putting, you're not gonna want to be around it. Not even in media, just in general. It's a real shame when there's something that's really well thought out or has a great concept, but nobody gives it a chance because it looks disgusting. Or there are instances that are like the subject of today's video. It looks so unappealing that it ends up ruining the entire project. How does that happen? Well, let me explain. This is Origen's Wake. I bet a lot of you are looking at the screen going, what am I looking at? Well, I had the exact same reaction when I stumbled across this myself, and yeah, when I ended up watching it, let's just say I had a lot of thoughts about it, and you're gonna hear them all here. Origen's Wake is a computer-animated short that was made in the early 1990s. And I bet you're looking at this going, ugh, what am I looking at? While you're looking at Origen's Wake, I thought that was pretty obvious. This was made by two guys in someone's basement. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I mean, to be honest, it kinda looks that way, but to be fair, this came out around the same time that the early episodes of VeggieTales were seen as something revolutionary and groundbreaking, so make of that what you will. But the ugliness of Origen's Wake is not because of the technical limitations of the time, no. That's like a painter making a bad painting and everyone looks at it going, oh, this is terrible, it must have been because of the paintbrush he was using. No, that's not how it works. Things with technical limitations can still look fine. Look at old video games, for instance, like Conker's Bad Fur Day. Despite the technical limitations, everyone thinks it looks great. And yeah, it's still pleasing to the eye. But then when you look at something like Bubsy 3D, yeah, not so much. So what even is this? Well, it's the story of this young boy named Origen. A young boy that sounds suspiciously like a grown man, but oh well. He has an overactive imagination that gets him into a lot of trouble and makes him very unpopular with his peers. His only friend doesn't actually exist. His name is Grobschnitt, and he was born on a corn tree on the dark side of the sun. He and Origen pal around and play a lot of repetitive games, but the only catch is, Grobschnitt is imaginary, he's not even real. And Origen gets tired of that and ends up deciding to ditch him and go hang out with some of the other kids. And the other kids treat Origen very poorly and teach him to be a bad kid. But then Grobschnitt gets angry and gets revenge on everyone who ever ignored him and destroys the whole town. And that's the story of Origen's Wake. I hope you enjoyed it because that's all we get. Now, I know I've already talked about the art style, but this is the first thing you notice when you look at it. It's inescapable, it's everywhere, and that's basically the whole point of this thing getting made. And yeah, it's unappealing, it's uninteresting, it's just vile. And there's a big difference between ugly yet beautiful and ugly but still ugly. For example, Ren and Stimpy, Lupo the Butcher, and Stickin' Around all have ugly art styles, but they're very interesting to look at. The fluid animation, the colors, the way that it doesn't make you want to gouge your eyes out. There's a way to make things ugly and unappealing, but still appealing if you know what I mean. Things like Origen's Wake though, they just look ugly for the sake of ugly. And that may be the whole point of it, but that doesn't mean it's good. Raw coffee beans are supposed to taste bitter, but that doesn't make them delicious. That's the same thing here. It's going for a certain angle of, ooh, look at us, we're creepy and unnerving, but it just comes off as unpleasant, and you don't want to give the short a chance because you don't want to look at it. And that's a real shame too, because, honestly, if it wasn't for the ugly art style, I'd say Origen's Wake would be pretty good. My only complaints are that I wish it would be longer so it could expand more on the story and characters, and obviously because it was recorded in some guy's basement with almost no crew, the voice acting is a little...
Grobschnitt doesn't exist.
He does! He's right there!
Just jump on him!
Mostly the audio quality, the acting itself is fine, but aside from that, I'd say this is pretty good. It tells an interesting story about imagination gone wrong, almost an evil Calvin and Hobbes, so to speak. I kinda see this as a British animated version of Drop Dead Fred. Yeah, you remember Drop Dead Fred, right? That awful movie where Phoebe Cates has that obnoxious imaginary friend who causes nothing but trouble? Origen's Wake is kinda the same thing, only in this version, the kid stands up to the imaginary friend and leaves, only to find out that the person he's leaving him for is not any better. So with a little bit of tweaking and reworking, Origen's Wake could have been good. but I don't think people gave it a chance because look at it. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. I guess I wasn't the only one who thought that Oregon's Wake had potential because someone actually picked it up, gave it more money, expanded it, and aired it on TV. Who would that be? That would be the British production company Channel X, and if that name sounds familiar to you, they're the people that made Snuffbox and Poketown. Oh no! Oh no! Yeah, this is exactly how I found out about Oregon's Wake, actually. They still have it on their website, still advertised, albeit it's pretty buried. I was looking for information on Poketown for an upcoming review, and, well, I found this! So I went down the rabbit hole and got some information, and wow! So apparently Channel X thought that this had potential, like I said, and they aired it on TV as part of a comedy block. The only thing is that it still looks like this. So, right off the bat, it's not a good sign. But how's the rest of it? Like I said, I wanted Oregon's Wake to be longer and expand more on the characters. Well, yeah, it does that. It's definitely longer. It's like, what, 12 minutes this time? It has more Oregon, more Grobschnitt. We see his parents this time. We see more of the other kids. But, in all honesty, I think I prefer the short version. Yeah, be careful what you wish for, right? See, this version of Oregon's Wake isn't like what regular show did with their pilot where they just added some scenes to it but it's still the same story. No, this retelling of Oregon's Wake is an entirely different tale. So this time Oregon does decide to go talk to the other kids and he has a fight with Grobschnitt. But this time it isn't about Grobschnitt getting angry and then getting revenge. No, it's about Oregon deciding to stand up for himself and then he himself becomes the monster, not Grobschnitt. And then he wreaks havoc on the town and the other kids have to use their imaginations to destroy him? I could go on questioning, oh, how is Origen able to do all these things when it's supposed to be his imagination? But no, I'm gonna harp on the story. Grobschnitt has no purpose here. If you cut him from the story, nothing happens. He doesn't really accomplish anything. Without him going on his rampage and getting angry at those who ignored him, he has no purpose. All he does is talk to Origen every so often, and then Origen kicks him to the curb, and that's it. We don't see Grobschnitt again until the end. The animation also gets better, yet worse. Everything looks a bit cleaner, but still it looks ugly. And in some spots, it looks even uglier, like at the end in the fight scene. It looks way, way worse than the fight scene at the end of the first version. And again, I know it's supposed to look bad, but that doesn't mean it's good. And that's the problem here. Once again, aside from the animation, I'd give this an okay. The first version was still better, but I'd say this version was okay too. Could I see an Oregon's Wake show working at some point? Yeah. Could I see it working with this art style? No. In order for it to be a success, I think you'd have to make it stop looking like a South Park meets Three Friends and Jerry computer animated nightmare, and give it its own art style. But I'm not so sure that Channel X would be willing to do that. What with Channel X's official website hailing both Poketown and Oregon's Wake as similar to South Park, you can kind of tell they want their own British South Park going on, and let me tell you, Poketown wasn't it, and Oregon's Wake most certainly wasn't it. I will say though, I'm kind of curious to see what the two creators have done aside from this. With advancements in technology, I think they could make something really good. I guess that's something I can do in my off time, but for you guys, I'll leave you with this. If you're ever making a show, a movie, a graphic novel, a set of sponges, I don't know, whatever it is you're making, it's important to make the inner workings first. Is the writing good? Are the characters developed? Is the world interesting? Obviously, that's what's going to keep people coming in. That's what gets them hooked, especially in a more serialized, story-based, or slice-of-life environment. But this is a very important thing too, it also has to have some kind of visual appeal. If you're trying to make it niche, go right ahead. But make sure it's not a full-on assault on the senses. Otherwise, people won't want to give it a chance aside from some very minor crowds. If you want some small underground successes and very little else, alright then, go right ahead. But if you want mainstream appeal, you're gonna have to make sure that you look the part on the inside and the out. Don't be like Oregon's Wake where you're beautiful on the inside, but not the outside. That's a fair warning from your friendly neighborhood media mementos. Well folks, thanks for watching the video. Have you heard of Oregon's Wake before this? Have you even seen it? Which version do you like better? Comment below and let me know because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. Honestly, I'm a little surprised that I went this whole video without comparing it to Rhapsody Street Kids, but you know what? I couldn't really fit it in anywhere, if I'm being completely honest. Alright, thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you guys next time.